Hi everyone, my name is Elena. The poem that I selected for my lesson is Seashells. So it's on page 136 of the Knock at a Star. This is a show and spell poem, which also can be referred to as a concrete poem. I chose this poem specifically just because I love concrete poems. I love how it forms the shape of a seashell, and I love seashells. I love the ocean. So this would just be such a fun one to share with students. Ideally, I would say this would be a good one for second grade. I feel that it's simple enough and also very engaging just because of the shape. I think that this would likely draw them to it. And you can even do an activity like such as having them do like a little coloring worksheet of their own, or even writing their own little poem about seashells based on what we read. So the poem goes like this. Seashells scattered on the shore, swept there by the ocean, once held creatures deep inside, creeping in slow motion. Empty seashells cannot creep, cannot leap or reach, but all day long they whistle songs retired on the beach. So I just love this one. I feel like it's so peaceful and fun. So the terms that I would be going over would be stanza, alliteration, repetition, and rhyme. So right off the bat, we can see the alliteration of seashells scattered on the shore, swept. So these first four words also, yes, but also at the end, slow motion. So these first four especially, we can really see the alliteration. So the definition I would provide for my students would simply be alliteration is when words that are close together start with the same sound. So in this case, the S sound would be the one that is seen for the alliteration. Next, for stanza, we can see right here, the stanza is separated a bit differently since it is a concrete poem and it's shaped like a shell, but we can see that there still is that gap. So the definition I would provide my students would be a stanza is a group of lines in a poem that belong together. So it's kind of like a poem's version of paragraphs. So it's simply being separated by a space right here, which we can see. And I also might show them some other examples from other poems, but specifically that's where it can be seen in this one. Next, for repetition, repetition can also be seen in the poem. So especially right here where it says empty sheet, sorry, this is hard to read, kind of going this way, but empty seashells cannot creep, cannot leap, or reach. So these two words cannot are repeated. So I could explain how that is emphasizing the things that empty seashells cannot do. And we could have a conversation about that. So the definition for repetition would be when a word or phrase is used again and again to make an idea stronger. Lastly, rhyme would be a good one to talk about. There's quite a few rhymes in this one. And so I kind of made some connections between a few of the rhymes. So here we have reach and beach. We also have ocean and slow motion. Here we have creep and leap. So there's quite a few connections that could be made here. And so I would probably have my students help me in identifying those through the lesson. So in order to explain rhyme to them, I would define it as when two or more words have the same ending sound. And then maybe provide a few examples that aren't necessarily in the poem, such as cat and hat or blue and shoe. At the end of the lesson, I would like to just draw it back and explain that, poems are used to create meaning. So this poem talks about empty seashells, right? It talks about that creatures used to be living in seashells. And so I would probably simply ask my students, like, how does this poem make you feel? Does this poem remind you of anything? Maybe a specific memory of your own? And then just kind of see where the conversation goes. So I think that about covers it. And thank you for listening.